Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here with our weekly astrological reading for the week of July 23rd through July 29th. So this week, there are a couple of things happening of importance. I'm going to focus on some specific ones today though. The main thing that I see this week is just that the lunar cycle is continuing. So we set our new moon intention last week. Well, the moon is on the move and heading towards a full moon next week. But for now, at the start of the week, we're gonna go on a journey with the moon. There is a waxing crescent moon, followed by a first quarter moon, followed by a waxing gibbous moon, all this week. So the phases of our intention setting, how we start to plant the seeds, tend to our garden, and then bring about a fruitful harvest, almost all of that process is going to take place this week, or a lot of it is going to take place this week. So let's really start out the week reminding ourselves of what that new moon intention was. You may also want to keep in the back of your mind the sun just entered Leo, Venus just stationed retrograde. So keep those things in the back of your mind as well, your intention for Leo season. Because I think that's an important backdrop for your lunar intentions. So with that in mind, I do want to mention a couple other things that happened this week. There is a conjunction between Mercury and Venus in retrograde in Leo, and that happens on Thursday, the 27th. And for me, that's one of the most important transits of the week by far. It's also a really great time to focus ourselves on what we're learning thus far in the Venus retrograde cycle. So I'm excited about this transit, and I think it's going to impact our week for sure. I think it's certainly going to have an impact on how and what Venus retrograde does for us or is, or means to us, I think, more importantly. So with that in mind, and guys, there are other transits, and in the dailies, we'll go over that in specific. But for this reading and for an overview of the week, I think the main thing to focus on is the moon's cycle and also this Mercury conjunct Venus moment in Leo. Also, this is Mercury's last little bit of time in Leo for now. It's going to enter Virgo this week as well. So with that in mind, let's make the most of Mercury and Leo while we can. I definitely am. So kind of as an overview for that, like I said earlier, the way that I'm going to approach this week is by really, really focusing my intention. Really, really reminding myself of what that was, what I want to create. And then I'm going to really care for that this week. I'm going to nurture that. I'm going to shine a light on it. Remember, the sun is still in Leo. So I'm going to really be shining a light on my garden this week. Really trying to nurture that as much as I can. So those are really the main things I'm seeing. Again, it's the lunar cycle continuing. It's us tending our garden, the garden of our intention. I'm gonna be using a lot of gardening imagery this week. It's just really speaking to me. I think with so much happening with the moon this week, I think the moon is pulling focus majorly. So I'm gonna really be focusing on that, on nurturing my intuition and shining a light on it, letting the sun shine on my intuition as well. Remember, the sun is still in Leo. Or it's now in Leo, beginning Leo season. So we're gonna have a lot of fire and light coming up, which is really cool. Also, the Mercury-Venus conjunction moment, again, I'm going to really be using that to focus in on how my journey's been going with Venus in retrograde. And I'm gonna really start to share that for sure, with Venus and Mercury right next to each other. I think it's really calling for us to approach this journey intellectually, and in a detail-oriented way to kind of bring all of that into a clearer focus. And so I'm going to let that happen this week, because then Mercury goes into Virgo, where it will be all about details, a ton of details, which is going to be beautiful. I am going to insist on it. But that's about it, guys, for the overview. I did do a weekly tarot reading, as usual, and because so much was happening with the moon, I chose the moon major arcana. So we will be doing a major arcana reading for the moon, and I will get into it now. Here we go. Let's see how the moon archetypes are going to affect us this week. First, I'm going to do my regular shuffle, like I always do, and I will be repeating a specific intention also, as usual. The intention I chose for this week is really simple. It's just understanding. So I think that, and maybe this is part of this, is that Mercury conjunct Venus. I think understanding our intentions, understanding what Venus retrograde has meant for us, starting to settle into the sun in Leo and into Leo season, and trying to understand what that is. I think I want to begin this week with a solid foundation of understanding, or at least get as close as I can. So I chose the moon. We will be repeating the phrase understanding while I continue to shuffle, while we center ourselves, while we take some deep breaths, and while we really start to focus on imbuing the deck with the idea of understanding. So do that with me for a little bit while I finish shuffling. Okay, so I've brought the deck from chaos into unity. I'm going to repeat my intention a couple more times, and then I'm ready to draw my cards. So the first card that I draw is in the position of darkness, and that card is the Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands in the darkness position, or the position to reveal to us what needs to be illuminated, what is hidden and that we need to see, what is possibly obscured. It's the Ace of Wands. So fire, energy, light, all of those things, that is hidden from us. So what I'm reading from that is that we need to uncover our light. We need to uncover our shine. We need to find what is darkening the Ace of Wands for us and clear that away. And hopefully the rest of the reading kind of shines a light on that. So the second card that I draw in the moon position is the Ace of Swords reversed. Okay, so we have another ace showing up right away. This is reversed and in the moon position, which is about how we are intuitively understanding the situation. So how are we intuitively understanding how the Ace of Wands is hidden in darkness, how our shine and light and creative thrust is in darkness right now? The moon position is going to show us what our intuition is perceiving here. And so with the Ace of Swords reversed, I think what that's showing me is that for us, there's probably the perceived lack of an intellectual approach here. In fact, it may be kind of unwieldy intellect. There may be this idea that the way our intuition is perceiving our approach to the intellectual side of our lives, our approach to the maybe more pragmatic side of our lives, the more authoritative side of us, that side of us is potentially unwieldy right now, that we cannot get a grip on that aspect of our personality. So it's interesting, almost in opposition to the Ace of Wands. It's almost as if our inability to wield intellect, our inability to control the authority, even our own personal authority, is darkening our ability to grab onto the passion, drive, energy part of our lives. And I think that because it's our intuition revealing that to us, and because so much of this week is about the moon, I think we need to focus on that. I think maybe it's also saying that Mercury conjunct Venus in retrograde moment, that we need to be able to wield our intellect so that conjunction can be as powerful for us as it should be, as we deserve. Meaning that our ability to understand love, art, beauty, and how that drives us, how that fires us from the inside. Our ability to understand that intellectually is really important this week. And I think that if our intuition is saying, hey, you kind of need to get control of your intellect from the start, start to think about detail-oriented vibes, I think that the moon, our intuition, is showing us that. And I'm gonna take that seriously. Okay, great. So then the next card that I draw, the third card, is in the reflection position. It could be that this position represents what is maybe an illusion right now, but is something we want to be possible, or it's something that we're seeing from the wrong angle. That card turns out to be the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups in the reflection position shows me something very clear. To me, it's something very obvious. It's showing that the illusion in this case is probably an over-focus on the mundane things in our life and the missing out on the gifts around us, the intuitive gifts, the life-giving, emotional, loving, nurturing gifts that are just out of our eyesight because we're too focused on the mundane, on the day-to-day, on maybe even something we're content with, but because of that, because we're just focused on that and not thinking about more, not listening to our intuition, we're missing right here, right by us, some beautiful gift. I think that even it could be that we're too focused on illusion. We're not maybe focused on the reality of our intentions that we set. And we're a little too wrapped up in day-to-day to notice the expansive nature of those intentions, or to realize, and this week's the week to do it, to realize that our intentions could be so much bigger and more beautiful, and more imbued with the stuff we're learning from Venus retrograde. I think it could be so much more imbued with a creative thrust. And I think if we just focus on the day-to-day, just the basic stuff that we already have intended even, we may miss out on some of those more beautiful things. I think also in this card, I'm seeing the Ace of Cups, because to tie it back in with the Ace of Swords, the Ace of Wands, I'm seeing a little bit of the Ace of Cups and that imagery of the cup floating, because it's almost like the message of the Ace of Cups, that there is beauty and wonder that is available to us, I think is something we could miss if we're wrapped up in illusion or even just in the mundane. That's how I'm going to look at this position. All right, so then we're moving on to our fourth card, which is in the position of Dog. So think of this as the companion. This is the position of what will help you in this process. And the card that I draw here is the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So for me, this is actually incredibly simple. What it means to me is that our strongest, most loyal, most reliable guide in this situation, our most reliable companion in this situation, is our ability to understand and accept cycles. This card is showing me, in reversed, that our best friend is our understanding that cycles are inevitable. The wheel will turn no matter what we do. And if we can accept that, if we hold on to that like a best friend, we can use that knowledge to move on from focusing on stuff that's just not important. Move on from being wrapped up in what ifs, in what could be. Really just be like, the wheel's gonna turn. Life's gonna go on. I've got to accept that and not focus on just the turning. I need to focus on where I am in that process. And that's it. And of course, we're talking about intention. So we're talking about the future. We really, really are. But we are not talking at all or hinting that we have any control. In fact, actually, to be honest, we're talking about tending our garden, like thinking about these intentions. That's all the control we can really have. We can't control if a rainstorm comes. We can't control if there's a cloud blocking the sun. We can control that if it's our internal clouds blocking our internal light, but we can't control what happens outside of that. So this week really is about controlling what we can and then letting go entirely of what we know we can't. We have to latch on to that this week. And the wheel reversed in this position, in the dog position, in the companion position, is showing me that our best friend this week is our ability to understand the inevitability of the wheel turning, of cycles, especially the lunar cycle. Lunar cycle happens no matter what we have to do about it, but we want to make the most of it. And so let's see if the rest of the spread helps us with that too. So our next card is in the wolf position. That card is the Sun reversed. All right, the wolf position is about definitely about our wild side, but not in the way of maybe strength reversed. It's about how our instincts may lead us over our developed understanding. So sometimes letting instincts lead us is really important. Sometimes letting our wild side guide us can be really important. In this particular spread, and with our intention of understanding, I think that following instincts over intuition is kind of the key distinction here. So I think leaning into our intuition, trusting our intuition, but not totally giving ourselves over to just our instinctual or primal whims. I think this is a lot more about approaching our intuitive understanding of especially the lunar cycle, especially of our intention, over letting just our instincts and urges drive us. And I think that's really clear here because it's the sun reversed. So it's saying that negativity, blocking your own light, that cloudiness I was talking about earlier, letting that guide us is going to lead us astray. And we don't want that. We want to be pragmatic. We want to delve into intuition, dive into those waters, let the moon guide us, but we don't want to just blindly follow instinct, because apparently this card is saying that if we do that, that is potentially leading us towards, or that we're leading with some kind of negativity, and we definitely don't want any of that. So let's move on in the spread and see if it shows us how we can lead with intuition over instinct. Okay, so the next and final card that I draw is in the path position. So hopefully revealing what path we should take or what path is available. And that card is the Three of Cups reversed. I think at first when I see this card, I have a hard time understanding what it can mean in the path position. But then I think about one specific interpretation that I have of the Three of Cups reversed, and that is excess. So what does excess as the path mean? Especially because I just got done seeing that I shouldn't let my instincts or primal nature guide me. Well, there's a key distinction here. And it's more like what I was talking about strength reversed, the way I view strength reversed, which is not in this spread, but I want to mention it because I think the meaning applies here. The idea of letting our wild side out, but not guide our life, I think is important here. However, this isn't strength reversed. This is the Three of Cups reversed. And that can represent excess in a lot of forms. It can represent an excess of partying, an excess of overindulging our sensual stuff, our sensual desires, an overindulgence of that. So that, as the path, I'm cool with. I am 100% okay with the path I take being dedicated, at least for this week, to excessive pleasure. I think this is Venus in retrograde. I think this is Mercury conjunct Venus in retrograde, speaking to us directly through this card. It is saying that the path forward this week, the way that we let intuition guide us, the way that we adapt to and accept the inevitability of change, the way that we can wield the wands, the sword, and the cups, the best way to do that is to engage in pleasure. Engage in pleasure. And that may be the missing pentacles in this spread, may potentially be engaging with these earthly things, engaging with resources we have access to, engaging with and indulging in those to the fullest, I think brings that balance into this whole spread. And I think we were talking about avoiding instincts. I think if we're engaging in pleasure, if we're engaging in love and in beauty, we can maybe spot our instinctual approach to that, our more primal desire there. But because we can spot it, because we can engage with it, we can wield it a lot better. We can control it a lot better, which is what's being called for so much in this spread, a sense of control. But the way we can control things is by understanding them. So again, Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde. If we can understand how to approach love, beauty, and pleasure, how we see it really, then we can engage with it and then keep it in check. We can engage with it and then use it to foster our understanding and to bolster our intentions. So this week, guys, to tie it all back in, to tie it back into the astrology, to tie it back into our intention of understanding, I think this is showing us, in order to wield our passion, in order to wield our intellect, in order to accept the gifts around us, we need to, first and foremost, understand that change cycles are inevitable. We got to go with the flow on that. We can't let our instincts or primal nature lead us, but we must engage and indulge in love, beauty, pleasure, art, romance, all of these Venusian themes. We need to engage and indulge in what we've learned so far from Venus in retrograde. And then we need to let all of those things inform our intention, imbue our intention with a sense of control and acceptance, but with a ton of beauty and a ton of pleasure and a ton of love. So that's how I'm gonna guide myself this week. I'm going to lead with pleasure, and I think that'll help me reach understanding. That'll help me learn and use my intellect, use my ability to wield my passion, my ability to accept the gifts around me. I'm gonna lead with pleasure. So let's do that together. I'll see you next week.